This product made us over $5,000 in profit last month. But in around an hour from now, you're gonna know exactly how to start your own e-commerce business by following these 4 simple but very detailed steps. And it all begins with product research. Now trust me when I say this, even if your family, friends, and your dog all think you have $1 million idea, you need more than just a gut feeling that your product will sell. For example, if you're anything like me and you love drinking wine, you might think it's a really good idea to sell these wine glasses. However, even though these are in high demand, the category is just way too oversaturated and already dominated by the established brands, meaning it's going to be really hard and expensive for a new product to gain market share. Now, luckily, you chose to watch this video, so you're not going to be one of those people getting stuck in the wrong situation. The product you choose to sell is the single biggest factor in whether or not your business succeeds. So that's why we're going to spend the majority of this video diving really deep into both product and market research. So now the question is, how do you finally push through and find a product that checks off all the boxes? Well, the key is to look for products that meet most, or ideally all 6 of these factors. If your product does, then you should feel really good about investing your hard-earned money into the business. Now, we're gonna circle back to this in just a second, but first, it's important to understand that the need to hit all 6 of these factors will depend on 2 things: where you plan on selling and how you plan on selling. Let's start with one of the biggest decisions you need to make, and that's where you're going to sell your products. Of course, you can sell on any and all platforms, but when first starting out, I'd strongly recommend just starting on one marketplace first, and then as your business scales, you can add additional marketplaces. And right now, these are the 2 biggest ones: Amazon FBA and Shopify. And personally, I believe the best strategy is to test the market on Amazon first, and then later reinvest those profits into a Shopify business. And here's why. The majority of online shopping still happens on Amazon, and this puts you as a new seller in a very powerful position. You're essentially starting out with a built-in customer base, and you didn't even need to convince those millions of people to visit your website. Whereas on Shopify, on the other hand, you're 100% responsible for driving traffic to your website. Shopify does not do that for you. You can have the best product in the world, but if people don't know that your brand exists, you obviously won't get any sales. Think about it. When's the last time you bought something from a random website you've never heard of before? Now, when's the last time you bought something on Amazon from a brand that you've probably never heard of before? Probably not too long ago, right? Also, Amazon's FBA service will make it so much easier for you to run your business from home without having to quit your day job. They'll take care of all your inventory storage, order fulfillment, returns, and even customer service for you. This makes it easier for new sellers to just focus on growing their business rather than having to find a storage facility and then pick, pack, and ship out every single order. And while the goal is to eventually quit your day job and go full time at this, you still need to be realistic about how much time you can actually dedicate right now to running your business. It's honestly pretty incredible how a single person with 0 e-commerce experience can sell their own products on the biggest marketplace in the world and have them delivered to customers within just 2 days. But like I said, I'm not saying you shouldn't sell on Shopify. In the end, you want to use both platforms here. But also, we didn't just make this video to give you high-level future advice. This video is meant to be a practical guide that you can use to start your e-commerce business tonight. And currently, the fastest and most proven way to get started is with Amazon FBA. Okay, but if you're still interested in learning more, we have an entire guide that breaks down all the differences between Amazon FBA and Shopify. You can find this article with a link in the pinned comment down below. Okay, so once you've decided where you're going to sell, the second step is to figure out how you're going to sell. Now, there are all different kinds of ways to sell online, but here are the 4 most tried and tested profitable business models. The first one is called wholesale. So this is when you buy discounted products in bulk directly from larger known brands and then use the current Amazon listing to resell your inventory. And now the second one here is called arbitrage. This can be done either in store or online, and it's when you buy discounted products through retailers, and just like wholesale, you're going to resell those on the same and current Amazon listing. And the third one here is called drop shipping. So this is when you take orders for a product on behalf of a supplier. Then when a customer makes a purchase, you notify that supplier, who then fulfills and ships the order for you. However, a big downside to dropshipping is that it's almost impossible to do on Amazon now. So if you're low on cash, I'd strongly recommend starting with one of these other business models and then take those profits to launch your own brand using this 4th business model called private label. Put simply, this is when you source a generic product from a supplier and then place your own brand on it. This means you don't have to reinvent the wheel or develop a brand new concept. You essentially find high-selling existing products, put your own twist on it, and then brand it with your own unique logo. In fact, some of the world's largest brands are built on the private label method. For example, Costco's doing this with their Kirkland Signature brand, which offers all kinds of generic products but with their own logo on it. It's by far the most popular business model because, unlike the other three, you're actually building a real brand that nobody can take away from you. And because you'll own 100% of it, you could one day even sell the entire business for thousands or even millions of dollars. This is exactly why we chose this business model to launch our product. Okay, so if you want to keep learning about all the different types of business models, you can check out our full guide that breaks down all the pros and cons to each one and how to get started. Again, with all the resources mentioned in this video, you can find those in the pinned comment down below. Okay, so once you've identified your business model, the next step is to look for products to sell, and this is where things start to get really fun. So I'm going to show you the process that I use to find good products, which is really a combination of two separate approaches, the passion and the data-driven approach. With the passion approach, this is when you use your own hobbies and interests as a starting point for coming up with good ideas. Whereas in the data-driven approach, this is when you rely more on sales and competition metrics to help guide you towards the best products to sell. And while both approaches are great on their own, I actually think the best way is to combine them together. This means you start with your hobbies or interest and then use sales and competitor data to validate whether or not those are actually good ideas. Remember, just because you like a particular product idea doesn't mean others will too. That's why you always want to confirm your ideas with data. Okay, so now with that said, let me show you 5 different ways to find products to sell. And for this example, I'm going to use my love for dogs as a starting point. So if I wanted to find good dog products to sell, the first strategy I could use is by going directly to Amazon and using the category tree method. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just type in dog supplies. And on this next page, if you look over here under department, these are the categories. So it starts at dog supplies and then it niches down into these ones. But this isn't even half of it. So I'm actually going to click into dog supplies to see a much bigger category tree here. So from here, what I'd recommend doing is going through all these sub niches now and trying to find an interesting product to sell. So I'm just going to do dog housebreaking supplies as an example, and then keep niching down to the lowest level. And so dog diapers and potty training sounds interesting. And let's just go with dog diapers here. So now we're at the bottom of the category tree and we can start to see what some of these products are, skipping over these sponsored product ads. So this first one here looks like a 3-pack of dog diapers. And then you see a bunch of different dog diapers here. Cool. So this is our product idea that we'll eventually start looking at in more detail later on. But just to start to see how much these sellers are making each month, I actually want to click into the listing and then scroll down here to the bottom. And we're trying to find this best sellers rank at the top here. So about 3,065. So to find out how much it's selling each month, you can head over to the Jungle Scout free sales estimator. So just go to Google, type in Jungle Scout free Amazon sales estimator, copy in that bestseller rank here, the marketplace you're selling in, and the category, which is for us, pet supplies. And now when you estimate sales, this product is selling almost 3,000 units each month. But that's just on this one product. You want to go back to the search results and do that for at least 10 products or even all the products on page 1. Now this could be a really cool idea, but before you start analyzing the data, you do want to have something to compare it to. So this is why I'd actually recommend creating a list of at least 5 to 10 product ideas. And if you want, feel free to follow along with me as we find product number 2, this time using another Amazon method, and we're actually gonna use the new releases pages here. So to keep this up here, I'm just gonna duplicate the page and head over to the new releases tab. So this is gonna show a bunch of products on Amazon in each category where new products are being added and they're selling very well. So you have this category tree over here as well. And I'm gonna find our pet supplies category. I'm gonna go down into the dog category. And so we have a bunch of other different ones here. Let's go training and behavior aids. Let's go, there's agility equipment at the top there. And I could keep going down more, but I see there's just 3 categories. So let's look now at these top products. I see a dog step, a dog step, a dog step, a bunch of dog steps, okay. A treadmill, oh my gosh. Okay, so dog steps. I want to look into that idea a little bit more. So I'm just going to type it into the search bar so we see just dog steps in there. Now, I'm not going to go through the sales estimator again on this product. We'll do that in a better and more efficient way later. But one little trick I like to do when you're thinking of product ideas and you're trying to stay organized is to use Google tabs, if you're using the Google browser, of course. So I'm just double clicking up here, add it to a group. What are we calling this? Dog steps, and then green. And then this one was dog diapers. So I'm actually just gonna type in dog diapers to see just dog diapers there. Add it to a group, dog diapers, blue. And that way you can actually like close these up and get all your ideas really organized. Okay, so we have 2 ideas. Now let me show you another way of coming up with ideas, but this time we're gonna go outside of Amazon. And this one's really fun because we're gonna use Chat GPT and ask it for some help. So I'm gonna type that in here and paste the prompt I already have. And this prompt essentially is asking Chat to give me a list of dog products that are usually above $25, are small and lightweight, easy to manufacture, and we don't want to sell anything that's a food or electronic item and nothing that's easily breakable here. So let's go through what it's given us back now. Okay, so we have 10 ideas here that we can now start looking into, but I'm actually gonna ask it, I like dog beds as an example. What are some different types of dog beds? Okay, so it's giving me a list of the different types of dog beds. And I think this is really powerful because essentially these are probably niches on Amazon. And I can see like, obviously you have a standard dog bed, orthopedic dog bed. I would have never thought of that. I've seen elevated dog beds before, heated cooling, cave or hooded dog beds. That's piquing my interest here. So I actually want to type that into Amazon and see what comes up. So let's go type it in here, do a space. You can sometimes use a search bar to see what are some similar words here. So dog beds with hooded blanket. That's interesting. I actually want to type that in here. And okay, cool. There are products out there that are a dog bed with a hooded blanket over top of it. And yes, so there's more than one product. This is definitely a niche on Amazon. So I'm not going to waste too much time on this. So let's get to product number 4, but I'm going to go ahead and save this to a group. What are we calling this? Dog beds with blanket? Okay. Okay, so we're 3 products in, and now we just need 2 more before we can start comparing. So for this next one, I'm gonna show you how to find the best-selling products using the data-driven approach first. Again, this is when you rely on data from advanced product research tools to help you find products that meet your exact criteria. And remember earlier, we talked about these 6 factors of a good product? Well, with tools like Jungle Scout, you can use advanced filters to sort through every product on Amazon to easily discover just the best ideas. It really helps remove the guesswork from product research by giving you access to every product's estimated sales, cost, profits, and much more. And don't worry, you don't need to have access to a tool like this in order to learn the strategies I'm now about to teach you. But if you are interested, we'll go ahead and put a link for you down in the pinned comment below. So the tool I'm going to be using here is called the product database. Essentially, every single product that's on Amazon is loaded in here. We just need to now add some filters to isolate the best ones to sell. So we'll start with the first and most important factor, which is high demand. At Jungle Scout, we like to define high demand products as those that maintain a consistent sales volume of over 10 sales per day or 300 sales per month. So in this tool, we actually have a filter for minimum and maximum sales. Only want to find products that sell on average of 300 units every single month. So I'll go ahead and put that here as the minimum. And then we're selling in the United States, but if you were selling in other countries, you'd want to make sure you select that marketplace so that you're looking at that specific data. Now, the reason I say this is the most important factor is because it's really the only one on this list that you as a seller cannot directly influence. While it is possible to sell in a less competitive niche, and it's even possible to lower your cost and become more profitable, what's not possible is creating demand where it doesn't already exist. So for each product idea you're thinking about selling, you need to be able to confidently answer this one question. Are customers consistently searching for and purchasing this type of product? And even if you're not going to be selling your products on Amazon, you can still use this data to figure out the level of demand for your product. Because if a product is selling well on Amazon, it's probably selling well on other marketplaces too. Okay, now let's talk about factor number 2, brand agnostic. This is the type of customer you want purchasing your product. In a nutshell, as opposed to brand loyal consumers, brand agnostic consumers are less interested in buying from a brand just because of their reputation. And instead, their purchases are more motivated based on the objective factors related to the product itself, like price, features, and innovation. Here's a really good example of this. I need to take my shoe off for it. If you're gonna be buying running shoes on Amazon, you're probably only looking at the major brands like Nike or even Adidas, New Balances, or some of those other major brands, right? But on the other hand, quite literally the other hand, if you were just looking to buy a protective case for your AirPods, you're probably just looking to find something that's pretty cool. And yes, before you ask and run to the comments and make fun of me, I love the color purple. So what this means for new sellers is that you want to try to target categories where consumers are not solely purchasing from the top established brands, but are instead open to buying products from lesser known brands like yours. Now in the past, we actually used to call this factor low competition. However, We feel it's really important to evolve this strategy because in the past few years, it's becoming almost impossible now to find these low competition categories that are also in high demand. This is primarily due to the fact that more people are selling on Amazon, which has led to an increased competition in almost every major category, even the small ones. This means that even the niche categories that were once considered low competition are now saturated with really large brands, which makes it extremely difficult for new sellers to gain any traction. This is why new sellers need to pivot and target categories that are easier to break into. Now, there's a whole bunch of different data points that you want to look into, but when it comes to product research, here are a few ways to help isolate those brand agnostic categories. So I'm actually going to use the review filter here and set a review max to 250. Now, the reasoning behind this is to help you find products that are selling hundreds of units each month, despite only having a relatively low amount of reviews, which most likely means the product is sold by either an unknown brand or is pretty new to the market. And that's exactly what you want to see. New products sold by unknown brands that are doing extremely well, especially in the first year or two, which actually brings us to the second filter we can use here. And this is the date first available filter. And what I like to do now is select either the last 24 months or 12 months, so the last 2 or 1 years. Sometimes I'll start at 2 years and then narrow it down to 12, but I'm just gonna save some time here and pick the last 12 months. So now what we're basically trying to find is products that were just launched in the past year that are selling 300 units each month, despite only having 250 reviews. So another way that we can do this is to exclude top brands. Essentially, it's gonna get rid of your brands like Nike, Adidas, and those really, really large brands. But then also what I like to do is come up here to the seller type. So there are 3 different types of sellers. There's Amazon, so you're just competing directly with Amazon, or FBA or FBM, which are third-party sellers like yourself that are sending in products to a fulfillment center, and they're essentially smaller sellers most likely. So I like to weed out Amazon. You don't want to compete with Amazon, and select FBA and FBM only. With filters in place now for high demand and brand agnostic, let's now move on to factor number 3, which is high profitability. On Amazon, you want to ensure that after all your expenses, that you're still taking home a healthy net profit. A lot of people make the same mistake of selling products with low profitability, and the minute Amazon either increases their fees or your shipping costs go up, their products end up failing. And we're gonna make sure that you don't make that same common mistake here. So as a general rule of thumb, you want to aim to sell products between $25 and $75. And the reasoning behind that is because anything under $25, the profit margins are usually very slim, and anything above $75, it's really hard to convince shoppers to buy from a brand that they're not familiar with and make an impulse buy. So we can actually set those filters here: minimum price 25, maximum price 75, and go ahead and feel free to play around with that. You can do $20 minimum, $30 minimum, or even increase the max as well. All right, now factor number 4 is improvement potential. So a few years ago, you could basically just throw any random product on Amazon and get sales. But today, it's a little more complicated than that. Because new sellers are joining every single day, it's more important than ever to not just find a generic product and slap your logo on it, but instead, you want to do everything you can to stand out and grab the customer's attention. And by far the best way of doing that is truly creating a product that is better than your competition. Making just one small improvement can really help increase your chances of breaking into a market, even if the competition is fierce. So to help you find products that customers are just begging to be improved, you can actually utilize this star rating filter. This is the rating that every product on Amazon has on a scale of 1 to 5. So for this, I suggest setting the maximum rating to at least a 4 here. And basically that will help eliminate all the products with a 4+ or even a perfect 5-star rating. And so what this will do is just make it easier to find products that are selling hundreds of units each month despite having negative reviews. And surely if a product has a few negative reviews, then there must be some room for improvement there. All right, now factor number 5 is ease to sell. Especially if this is your first product, it's best to sell something that isn't going to give you too many headaches. Ideally, you want to find a product that is easy for a factory to make and for you to sell. Ideally, these are products that aren't easily breakable, aren't a food, clothing, or electronic item, and are also products that are small and lightweight, just like we did in the Chat GPT example earlier. And just a note on the product being small and lightweight, this is really important because not only will shipping and storage be less expensive for you, but Amazon will actually charge you less in their FBA fees. So to avoid oversized products, you can actually come up here to the product tier section and select standard products only. And a really good way of thinking about this is a standard product is a product that can fit into a normal shoebox. An oversized would be something above 20 pounds or in a lot bigger box. All right, now another quick thing that you can do here is to help eliminate products that are either too hard to make or easily breakable. You can come over here to the categories and select all of the categories except for the ones that I have unchecked here. Now, I'm not saying that you can't sell in these categories, but these are the ones that are typically causing new sellers the most headaches. So factor number 6 now is no legal or liability issues. Now there's not a filter for this one, but it is one of the most important factors you can't ignore. When analyzing any product idea, you need to double check that it doesn't infringe on any existing patents or trademarks. For example, it is okay to sell a generic travel mug like this, but it's not okay to sell this specific one that's designed and patented by the company Yeti. Also, make sure to cross off any products that you can see as being a potential liability. This means you could be sued if something were to go tragically wrong with a product, like a child's car seat, for example. And hey, real quick, if you're getting any value from this video so far, let us know by hitting the like button down below. Okay, now to recap, all of these filters here are set to help you discover only products that are in high demand, target brand agnostic customers, are highly profitable, can be improved, and are going to be a lot easier to sell in. But keep in mind, you don't always need to utilize these filters at once. In fact, I'd encourage you to play around and see what different results you get by setting different parameters. And you can even come up here and load filter sets from the ones that we've created for you, or if you like, you can actually just save the ones that you've created yourself. Now that you know what makes a good product, at this point, you can click search, and really the process from here is to just go through these products. You can hover over the image and try to find things that are interesting. You wouldn't want to sell, in this case, some vitamins or anything. It's just gonna be really hard to sell, or any beauty products like that. But also, so there's 412 products here, but what I like to do now is incorporate my interest here. So you can come up here to the included keywords section and add in, I'm gonna add in dog, of course, but you would add in your own interest or hobby. And with all the parameters we set here, so new products in the past year that are selling really strongly and are in a price range, about 15 different products. And cool, so we see a bunch of different dog products here. That is hilarious. Not sure what that is. Food storage, cool. And I'm just gonna pick one here. We know that they all meet our criteria. So let's see here, what would be an interesting one? A recovery suit. Okay, so I'm just gonna click this icon here, which will bring us to a search results, or I'm sorry, to that product exactly. And I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste recovery suit for dog into the search bar, and then add that as our 4th idea here. Okay, so our 5th and final product now, I'm gonna show you how to find trending products. So capitalizing on growing trends is a really smart way to make money selling products online, especially if you can catch it at its onset. But how do you even find out what's trending? Well, if you're active on social media, especially on apps like TikTok, for example, you can get a really good idea of what products people are talking about. What categories do people love? What are some new items that consumers are raving about? This is a really helpful way to harvest new ideas, but also you want to make sure that you're not selling something that's just seasonal or that's a fad. So we'll go over this in more detail later when we do market research, but first let me show you how to find really good products that are trending by using the Opportunity Finder. So this is another tool within Jungle Scout, and instead of showing you product ideas, this time it's going to display individual product niches, or essentially keyword phrases. So from here, I'm just going to select dog supplies. I want to sell something in that category. Average monthly units sold, we're going to do 300 again for the demand. And now for our monthly price, 25 to 75. Then we'll come down here and bring seasonality and competition to medium. And then include the word dogs because we're going to find a dog product. And now to find trending products, or I'm also going to exclude top brands, of course. To find trending products, I'm gonna put 1 as the minimum here in the 90-day trend filter. So essentially what this is gonna do is show us products over the past 3 months that are trending upwards by at least 1%. And now at this point, you can go ahead and click search. So okay, we have 22 products here that I can now expand and see a bunch of different metrics for each of the niches. So for dog knee braces, you can see the past 2 years of unit sales, price, and search volume, as well as seasonality. And then just like you would on Amazon, you can actually see the top products here and their individual metrics. So revenue, price, the data was first available. So that's awesome. And then clicking this icon, again, will bring it up on Amazon, but this time it will actually run the search term for us. So I'm gonna save this idea as our 5th product idea. So you have 5 product ideas. However, right now, these are all just very broad categories. And remember, competition is fierce at the top. So it's really important to find sub-niches that are way less competitive and are more targeted towards a specific consumer. So the next step now is to take each of your ideas and identify all the different sub-niches. And the way I like to do this is by going back over to our search results page. And for this example, I'm gonna do this with the hooded dog beds. So at this point, what I like to do is scroll down to the first organic product, which is this one here. And if you have Jungle Scout, you can actually click this keywords icon, which will run a reverse ASIN search on this product here. And we're doing this to find the top keywords that consumers are typing in on Amazon to buy this type of product, which we can see about 1,500 keywords here. But this is just one product, and this tool can actually hold 10 different products at once. So I'm actually gonna go back to the search results page here, copy the ASINs, and then bring it back up here and just fill this up with 10 different ASINs. So now that I got my 10 ASINs in here, I'm just gonna narrow this down to find the most relevant keywords by selecting pet supplies as the category, because sometimes a competitor or two will have keywords that are coming from outside categories, and we wanna remove those. So the next thing I like to do is find not just the most relevant keywords, but the highest volume keywords. And we can do that in this exact match minimum column. And what I'm gonna do is just put 1,000, but feel free to play around with this, do 500, 200, 5,000. And this is just gonna help us isolate those high volume keywords that are really relevant. So now that we come down here, we'll see, cool, we're working with 70 keywords, which will be a lot easier for us to really digest this information. So at this point here, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can click on a keyword to get keyword insights and see the past 2 years of performance here, which is really helpful. For example, like this product, Squishmallow beds, which if you're familiar with Squishmallow, it's just like a brand. They're exploding. And I assume they just launched a new product on Amazon because this is insane. So this is a good example of a keyword that doesn't typically have more than like 20 or 30 searches each month, but in the last like 2 months, wow, this thing is just blowing up. So that's really helpful. But what I like to do at this point, we're trying to find sub niches, right? I'm actually gonna select that one because the search volume is insane, but I'm gonna go through here now and just find unique ideas. So an example of that is, so here's dog beds for medium dogs, for small dogs. Now I'm not gonna select small dog again, because I already have that idea. Human dog bed, that's unique. Orthopedic, I don't need to repeat Squishmallow here. Puppy bed, like I don't need to add that because I understand dog, puppy, so I don't need to do that. Did we have medium before? Yeah, we did have medium, so we're missing large. Once I see large, I'll add it. Cat cave, that could be interesting. I know we're looking for dog products, but cat cave is interesting. Giant dog bed, we already have that. Dog tent, dog bed cover. So I'm just, again, looking for unique ideas here. Essentially sub niches, calming dog bed. Coolaroo, I think, is a brand. You can always, again, search it on Amazon by clicking that icon just to confirm. In this case, it looks like, yeah, Coolaroo is the brand there. So again, just gonna keep going down here and round dog bed and just finding unique sub niches now. Okay, so now at this point, I got a lot of different sub niche ideas. What I'm gonna do is save this to a new keyword list and just call it sub niche list for dog beds and share it with my team and then create an ad. And then before I actually leave this page, I want to save this search. So when I come back in the future, save search, I can just easily revisit it. So dog beds with hooded blanket. Great. Now remember, do this exact same process for your other product ideas as well. And in the end, you should have a huge list of sub niche ideas that you can now start looking into. And basically what you're trying to figure out at this point is which of these ideas hit most, or ideally all 6 of those factors of a good product. And once you have a big list, you can finally shift over from product to market research. Okay, so we're doing market research now, and for this example, I'm gonna use the dog beds with hooded blanket product. But again, you wanna do this for all your sub niches that you're evaluating. What I like to do is now click this icon to open up the Jungle Scout extension. And what this will do is populate all the products, about 52, that are appearing on page 1 on Amazon. So you can actually load more here, and I'm gonna do that to go past page 1, because I'm just trying to find all the products that meet this criteria. And sweet, so we're at 104 products now. But before I start analyzing this data here, so at the top you can see the average for all these products here. I actually want to remove the irrelevant products because most likely some of these, like this product, Amazon is displaying at the top, but they don't have a blanket. So that one does not look like it has a blanket attached to it. This one does not look like it has a blanket attached to it. And the process now is really just going through here and selecting these and then hiding them so that they remove from the data that we're looking at now. Okay, so I went ahead and removed all the irrelevant products, and we're now down to 68 products. And what I'm gonna first do is ensure that these top few products at the top here are not entirely dominating the category. And if it was, I would just move on. So the way I'm gonna look at that is looking at the sales, which you can also pull in the rank as well. So rank, sales, which you can do monthly or daily, the revenue as well, and just make sure that there's products down this list that are still hitting 10 daily sales or 300 monthly sales. And as I scroll down, I'm seeing products, in the 15th position here that are still getting pretty strong sales. And if I even take a bigger scroll, 11 sales, 29. So it's not completely dominated by these top products at the top here. And now at that point, I can now move on to filtering down. So this is very similar to our product research filters. I'm gonna enter the minimum price range of $25 and the minimum sales of 300. I'm gonna ignore all the other filters for now, just to keep it wide open. But clicking apply will show that there's 26 products in this niche that are at our price point and are getting 300 monthly sales or more, so high demand. And that's really good. So at this point, now I just wanna keep doing this more and filtering down more to find how many of these are new sellers. Now we have this date first available column here, which you can access a lot easier in my opinion by coming over to the filters and selecting either the last year or 2 years. Let's check out the last 2 years. Out of those 26 products that are in high demand and are hopefully gonna be profitable for us, there's about 15 that were successfully launched in the past 2 years. That's awesome. And just if we did this for the past 1 year, let's see what happens if I click apply. About 7 products, and that's awesome. One thing I want to point out here is there's oftentimes products like this where it has 1,300 reviews, which ratings is what Amazon's calling reviews for both written and non-written reviews. So 1,300 reviews, this product was probably not launched in the past year. And you can verify that by heading over to the listing and scrolling down, or actually we have it up in our extension up here, but you can see that this product was launched. It says it was launched not too long ago. However, that's probably just a new variation, this one right here. And you can verify that by opening up the extension on the product page and seeing this column here. So this product was actually launched in 2021, which makes a lot of sense to why it has that many reviews. So if I go back now to that page here, I can just remove that if I wanted to. But this is good. So this is helping us verify that this is a category where new sellers are coming in and making a lot of sales very, very fast. Okay, now at this point, we've verified that this category is in high demand. There's tons of products that are above $25 for us, and it's a category where new sellers are coming in and competing. So at this point, I actually want to remove the filters so we can get back our list of the full range of products in this category. And I'm gonna add it to a product tracker list. That way I can keep track of them as a whole, the entire market. You could essentially do the same thing in Excel, but this will help you keep track of the sales over time. And so I'm just adding these to a product tracker group now. All right, so we're in product tracker here, and this is a tool that lets you easily organize, group, and compare all your product ideas to help you confidently pick your next product. It's also great for keeping an eye on your closest competitors. Now, of course, you can also do this in Excel like I mentioned. However, the main benefit of this tool is that once you add in the products, it automatically tracks and updates the data each day, which will save you countless hours having to come back and re-enter all that data manually. And it even lets you go back to the previous 6 months and view the trends over time, which is really important because before you go investing a ton of your money, you want to have a better idea of how many units these products typically sell over a longer period of time. So what I like to do now is from here, you can go into each group and download a CSV file. And I like to do this because I want to visualize this a little bit different. When I'm comparing all my different product ideas, I like to organize it by demand, competition, profitability, improvements, ease to sell, legal liability, and then even my notes on the samples, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, I like having this structure here. And essentially what I did was I downloaded that CSV and put everything in here and then just organized it and did a little bit of color conditioning or color conditioning formatting. Well, you'll see how to do it. So what I did is once those numbers were entered in here, you can select a whole column like this, come over here to format and go to conditional formatting. And you see I already added it here, but so you can do it here. Just click on here and go to color scale. And what is it? You go to preview and then these two here. So red to green or green to red. So in all of the rows except for the reviews, I wanted to have the lowest number red and the highest number green. And that was reversed for the reviews because obviously I want to see a low amount of reviews. So I wanted to see green at the lowest, like this 196. And that's super simple to do. Again, you come over here to color scale. You select either red to green, green to red, and you don't have to do anything. You just click done and it'll do that for you. So that's super easy to set up. We did a video like this in the past and we had a few questions about how this was set up. So that's how you set it up. Hopefully that's easy to follow along. And now I just want to bring up a few columns that I added. And this is one of my favorite parts about a tool like Jungle Scout is you can download the data and then play with it however you want to. So I added in keyword search volume, which is essentially just the exact keyword search volume of this search query over here. And that's just another demand factor for me to see how many people are looking for that product on Amazon. Sales estimates are great, but you need to see how many people are actually typing that into Amazon each month. And so I add in keyword search volume here. And one thing I didn't mention is we have an average below row here. So the average search volume each month is 21,000. And if I see a product like this, car seat for puppies, is almost 100,000. So that's huge. So it really helps you see which products are the strongest and which ones are the weakest. So another column I added here was the same level competitors. Essentially, this is just showing how many new products were launched in the past year that are above $25 and are hitting 300 monthly sales each month or more. And this is just a really good way of seeing quickly how much brand agnosticism is going on in each category. And so the other columns I added here were mostly over here. So estimated cost and ROI, we'll get to that in a moment. We're able to estimate our cost by using a feature within the Jungle Scout tool or FBA calculator tool. And I'm gonna show you how to do that coming up here shortly. But we'll leave these two blank for now. And moving over to improvements. So this is where you wanna jot down all your ideas, ways that you can innovate on the product or add something to it. And what I like to do here is actually head back over to our keyword list that we created earlier. If you remember, we created some sub-niche idea list here for the dog beds that were hooded. And so raised dog bed, washable dog bed, dog tent, I can go over here and copy and paste those into here. It would be hooded dog bed. And just so we have track of all that in one easy to read sheet here. Now, another way that I like to think of product improvement ideas is actually using Chat GPT to analyze my competitor reviews. So I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that here. I'm gonna go over to a product in the niche and using the Jungle Scout extension, I'm gonna download all the written reviews. So 228 in this case. And then open that up into my Google Sheets here. And it'll look just like this. So you'll see all the reviews and you get all these headers up here, which I'm gonna filter. Now the body of the reviews is what we wanna copy into Chat GPT and ask it to analyze. But what I like to do first is come over here to this helpful count column and sort by Z to A. That way you'll see all the reviews that people are agreeing on. Okay, and now at this point, I'm gonna copy and paste about it really depends. I'm gonna do 25, but ChatGPT can only handle so many. So you'll have to do this in batches. Now coming over to ChatGPT, I already have this pasted in here, but you can ask it to analyze the Amazon reviews for this product and create a list summarizing the top 5 things people like about it, dislike, and the top 5 desired improvements, and then go ahead and copy and paste those reviews here. Okay, so it's generating top 5 things that people like about the product. It's soft, it's got an attached blanket, of course, it's durable. Top 5 things they dislike about the product. So it comes in poor packaging, it's too small, it's not suitable for all pets, suitable for diggers. Okay, so dogs that easily dig through the bed and pull out the stuffing. And then the top 5 desired improvements here are, so they want them to come in larger sizes. Customers are saying they want more color options, improved packaging. They want it to be machine washable, that's an interesting one. And suitable for cats. So whether or not it is, it's probably not marketed well. So these are really good notes. And we just did that for a batch of reviews here for the top 25 reviews. And I would actually do that for the rest of the reviews and for a ton of different products. We did it for just this one product here. So go through a bunch of different products in the niche and run this review analysis using the Jungle Scout extension to download the written reviews and ChatGPT to analyze them. And then ease to sell. So just mark down any notes about the production or the quality or anything that you can see going wrong with the manufacturing or shipping and storage. Just jot down those notes here. So for example, dog stairs are pretty big and I don't think you can fold them easily into a package. So it's probably an oversized product, whereas a dog knee brace would be super small and fit in a shoebox. So I can put those notes here. And then legal liability, hopefully this is all empty, but this is where you just note some of the findings that you found, like if there's any existing trademarks or patents out there that you need to work around, you wanna go ahead and put those notes here. And then again, samples, we'll get to that in just a moment. So now with all of your notes filled out here, and obviously mine aren't filled out, but once you do, you wanna try to narrow this list down to your top 3 products. And the reason you wanna get this down to just 3 products is because, one, it's gonna take you a decent amount of time to reach out to suppliers and contact them, and then also collect quotes and samples from them. And 2, those samples are pretty expensive. So you wanna be very selective about which ones you're going to order. Now, if you don't like the quotes or even the samples that you received from products 1, 2, and 3, then you can always come back to this list here and request samples and quotes for products 4, 5, and 6. Does that sound good? Okay, great. So let's say, I don't know, your top 3 products are these ones right here, and I'll highlight them yellow to make them stand out. So the process from here, if those are your 3 favorite products, is to reach out to at least 10 suppliers per product idea. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. So there are 2 main ways to contact suppliers. The first way is by using Alibaba.com, which is just like Amazon, but for finding suppliers. And the second way is to use the Jungle Scout supplier database, a tool that helps you not just find, but also validate the credibility of certain suppliers. So you can first start by heading over to Alibaba.com and typing in the name of your product. And now before scanning through this list, first go ahead and check these 2 boxes. So this will help eliminate any supplier who isn't verified or offers trade assurance. And all trade assurance is, it's a program that helps ensure that your product is produced to the quality you expect, is paid for securely, and is shipped out on time. And if there's any issues at all, Alibaba will actually help you file a dispute and get reimbursed. Okay, and then one more thing here, come down here to the previously exported to and select the country that you plan on selling in. And the reason why this is really important is because you don't want to work with any supplier who has 0 experience shipping products to the country you're selling in. This is all about setting yourself up for success. So once you've done this, you can now start scanning through this list here. However, you want to try to find suppliers who've been in business a long time. So you can find the years they've been selling over here. So 9 years, 7 years, or you can actually click into the product or the listing and see that information to the right over here. However, just know that this 9 years is of being in business, not of sending products to the country that you're selling in. So to better verify that information, you can actually use the Jungle Scout supplier database. Now, what I'm gonna do here is go to the supplier's profile first and then copy their name here. Head over back to Jungle Scout, and in the supplier section, I'm just gonna paste it in here. And we're gonna try to find the supplier here. Okay, so it looks like we found the supplier here, and we can see how many total shipments they've done, who their top customers are, their top manufactured products. And viewing more, you'll see their exact shipment history here. So if we scroll over to the first one, you'll see February 2016 was their first shipment into the United States. And this is a great way for you to validate when they actually sent their first shipment into the country you're selling in, which in this case is the United States. So back over on their profile, they said 9 years, which is how long they've been selling the product. But over in the supplier database, they've only been sending to the US for the past 6 or 7 years, which is great, but this is also just really helpful for you to validate that information. And scrolling down here to the shipment information, you can see the exact shipments that the supplier has sent into the US in this time frame. But if you're wondering how Jungle Scout knows all this information, it's simply done by collecting free information on all the shipments that are imported into the United States and the suppliers who are doing them. With this, you can see exactly how many shipments a supplier has sent in to the US, which gives you a really great idea of their experience shipping to the US. Now, with this tool, you can actually find suppliers that are honestly much more beginner friendly. So I'm gonna go back here and type in the name of a company. And if you don't know the name of a company, sometimes you can just come to the listing here. I'm gonna copy it right here under the brand. Or if you don't have the extension, you can click on the product and scroll down to the very bottom in this product details section and copy and paste the manufacturer here. And then coming back here, I'm gonna copy it in here. And we can find exactly sometimes who the supplier is that makes this product. So we can see the company here and all their top suppliers that they've been using in the past few years, which it looks like the last shipment was in November 2022 by this company here. Okay, now if you don't know the name of a company, you can actually use an ASIN. So I'm gonna copy the ASIN over here of this product and search by ASIN. And here we can see those exact same suppliers for this product, and we can even click into it and get more information that way. Now, the last way to find products is just like Alibaba, you can search by product, and here I'm gonna go dog beds for pets, just to get more information in there to find pet products. And now we can see a bunch of suppliers who make pet products. You can see their top customers are, so Chewy is their top customer. They make mostly plastic products, animal food. You can start scrolling through here. It'll give you really good ideas of suppliers to reach out to. Okay, so after you've created a list of potential suppliers to reach out to, you now want to send them the same list of detailed questions. That way you can judge all the responses equally. And to do this, you first need to track down each supplier's contact info. So on Alibaba, it's actually really simple. You can just come over to the product listing here and click contact supplier. Now, just a little heads up here, in Alibaba, the messaging can get a little bit messy, and that's why I recommend contacting suppliers off of Alibaba. Let me show you an example of this. So I messaged this supplier asking for a sample, and what I messaged them, we'll actually give you a link to download this. We have a free template for you, but I asked them all these very specific questions. I even numbered it, 1 through how many questions? 6, right? And then I get a hello dear as my response. And then a few minutes later, hello dear as a second response. And so I asked them, hi, can you please answer my pricing questions? I even said, please. Hello dear. So I said hello back. And you can see how this scenario is just happening to me, but it's the case for a lot of different suppliers. They're not as good as responding as you would hope them to be. And I think it's just Alibaba, they're getting messages a lot. And so if you're sending them a question on email, in my opinion, I think that's a better way of getting responses back. Now you can also try to contact them on Alibaba first and get their email or their WhatsApp. But I'd recommend doing that as opposed to doing all your communications right here in Alibaba. Okay, now understandably, this is where most people get stuck, and it's exactly where I got stuck when I first started my business. What are you supposed to say in the initial contact email? Well, to help you out, here's the exact template that we send out to all of our suppliers. And it is pretty extensive, so if you want to check it out, it's completely free. So I'll put a link to it in the pinned comment down below. Okay, now after you've gotten your responses from suppliers, you'll quickly start to understand what the estimated per unit cost will be. So now with those numbers, you can just copy those in this column here. But you still need to know what the estimated ROI is going to be. So let me show you exactly how to do that. Go back over to your search results and open up the extension here. Now, what you want to try to do is find a product that's very similar to yours in size. And this is important because Amazon charges fees based on the size of your product. So you can use the dimensions and weight column to find products that are exactly like yours. And let's pretend this is a product that is just like ours. And I'm actually going to open up the profit calculator here. This is where we can enter our per unit product cost and see what our estimated profit and ROI percentage is going to be. So I'm going to enter one in here now, but then also I like to add in a few extra dollars for things like shipping, storage, and advertising cost. These are per unit costs that you can't really calculate until you start selling, but it's good to factor it in as a worst case scenario. So I usually just do like a couple of dollars. Let me just bring it up to maybe 1501, so an extra $2, and I'll calculate the profit, which is 129%. But now I'm sure you're wondering, what ROI should you be shooting for? Ideally, the goal is to sell at least 100% ROI, just like this example here, which basically means for every dollar you spend, you get $2 back. And here's an important tip to remember for this. For every product you're evaluating, think, can I source and ship this to Amazon for substantially less than it's selling for? And to help you answer that question, consider the rule of thirds. 1/3 goes towards Amazon fees, 1/3 goes towards your landed cost, and then 1/3 goes back to you. So for example here, this product is selling for around $49. And if you split $49 into 3, that's about $16. Now our total FBA fees is $14.68, so we're less than that third price, which means we actually get back like $1.50 to our product cost. So even if we spend about $17 on our per unit product cost, we're still gonna be right around that 100% ROI percentage. And again, this cost should include both the estimated cost to source and ship the product into Amazon. Now, if the product would have cost above $17, then I'd probably move on to another product as the profit margin would start to get really low, especially once you start factoring things like advertising spend. Now, just make sure you do this for the rest of the products that you're considering. And once you do that, you should now have all the data you could possibly need to make a decision. And then just make sure to go back to your estimated ROI column here and add in that percentage here. However, before you go purchasing a whole bunch of inventory, you want to make sure to order samples first. This is something that you cannot skip, and it's arguably the most important part of the product research process. But just a quick note regarding this. It is typical to pay anywhere from $50 to $150 just for a single sample. So before you go ordering those, I strongly recommend coming up with a sample budget. For example, if you're willing to spend over $500, you could probably afford to order samples for your top 3 products and from your top 2 or 3 suppliers. This will let you not just compare the 3 products, but also compare the quality difference between the suppliers. However, if your budget is only $300, you may only have 2 options here. Either pick your favorite product and order samples from multiple suppliers, which would allow you to compare the quality differences between them, or pick your favorite suppliers for each of your top 3 products and order just 1 sample each. This would allow you to compare the 3 products side by side. And in terms of paying for these samples, the best way to pay is usually with a wire transfer, although you can never go wrong with good old PayPal. The other payment method to be familiar with here is trade assurance through the Alibaba platform. Just like I mentioned earlier, this is a really great option because it provides you with a little more protection for payments that you can set. In this case, paying through a wire transfer on Alibaba is the main option you'd most likely use, and it's also the same method you're going to use to place your first order on Alibaba. Now, when you receive the samples, make sure you take the time to truly compare them. Ask yourself, what's the quality of the sample like? And then use it in a way that the customer would and see how it holds up in a stress test. Also, how quickly did it arrive? Was the communication with the supplier easy? You can keep track of all these notes back over in your spreadsheet here. And for this, I just like to create a sample column here and add all my notes like bad supplier, but good quality product, or whatever your notes are, just add them in here. That way you can come back to all of your products and look at your notes for everything. All right, now based on all the information that you recorded in this sheet here, it's now time to finally narrow down to your favorite product and your favorite supplier. And to help you with this, here's my best piece of advice. Rarely will you ever find a product that's perfect in all of these areas here. Usually you just have to weigh up the pros and cons and go with the one that ticks the most boxes. However, the two boxes that should be weighted the most are the product's demand and the profitability. If anything, your product must excel at these two factors. So whatever you do not budge on those two. When new sellers fail, it's usually because of one of these two factors. They either can't sell enough because the demand just isn't there, or if they are selling, then they just end up losing money or not making enough to reorder inventory. So give yourself a fighting chance and pick a product that you know at least checks those two boxes. And once you finally feel confident that you found that great product, it's now time to get real about the numbers game. You need to know the ballpark number of how much it's going to cost for you to launch and maintain the business. So before you go ordering inventory, it's really important to build a financial plan for your online business. Having a budget is critical, but no matter what anyone tries to tell you, trust me when I say this, you do not need as much money as you think you do. In fact, based on our own research asking thousands of new sellers about their startup cost, the majority of those sellers said that they started their business with around $25,000 to $5,000. However, many Amazon sellers also told us that they started with way less than that amount, which means they probably just took the approach of starting slow and ordering small batches of inventory, which is way better than not starting at all. So if you're in the exact same boat with less than a few $1,000s, it's better just to get started now, because in a year or two, you'll be in a far better position than if you waited to get just a little more funding. But let's go over what specific costs you should consider in your financial plan, and we'll do this by breaking it down into required, recommended, and extra cost here. And to make this example make sense, let's assume that you're selling a product where the total landed cost is around $4, meaning that's the per unit price for both manufacturing and shipping. So with required cost here, these are the only required fees and other expenses that you must pay to start selling on Amazon. And by far the biggest one here is inventory. So I put a minimum and maximum here just so we can have different examples. So I'll actually back it up to samples here. If you were to just order one sample, it might cost you around $100, or at least that's good to budget. But if you order around 6, you can budget around $600 there. So samples, that's relatively small cost, whereas inventory is gonna eat up the majority of your startup costs. So for this example, I put $250 if we're selling at the $4 product cost as the minimum here. So $1,000 if you're gonna order 250 units, or $2,000 doubled it if you order 500. And typically you'll find that manufacturers want you to order at least 500 units. So that will be their minimum order requirement. However, you can often negotiate with them and say that, hey, you're gonna buy more in the future, but right now you wanna test out the market with 200 or 250 units. So don't be scared to ask suppliers for a trial period, essentially. You may have to sacrifice a little bit of product cost. So instead of $4, it might be $5, but that's gonna be very short term for you here. So just showing you what the min and max would be depending on how many units you order at a very small scale here. And this third cost here is a UPC barcode. So every product on Amazon needs one of these barcodes in order to create a listing and to send it in. So it's about $30 when you buy it from the GS1 website, which is where you need to go. We have an entire video on that, which we'll link down in the description below, of how to buy these barcodes. So for one barcode, it's going to be $30. And the next cost here that you absolutely need is an Amazon Seller Central account. So I put 0 in the minimum because technically with an individual plan, you don't have any monthly costs, but they do charge you 99 cents per sale. So if you're gonna be making more than 40 sales a month, that's when it's smart to switch over to the professional plan because it's gonna cost you $40. This is charged monthly, but also with the professional plan, you get a lot more selling features, like you can have videos on your listing, you can utilize certain advertising campaigns. The professional plan is highly worth it. And so this is what your max looks like. So now let's go ahead and see what the minimum and maximum startup cost would be in this required field. So if you're doing the bare bones minimum, it's gonna cost you around $1,100, or if you're doing the max, in between $2,000 and $3,000. So if you're going with this example here of $4 per unit, you can expect to spend anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 here. Okay, so now let's go down to the recommended costs. So these are costs that you don't necessarily need to start a successful business, but if you have the funds, we highly recommend that you make these investments. So the first recommended cost here is to set up an LLC. And this will cost you around $50 to $300 depending on the state you live in. And this can be helpful if you're selling categories that inherently have more risk, like the baby or pet supplies categories. Okay, so the next cost here is a registered trademark. Now this will range anywhere from $350 if you do it yourself, or $2,000 if you go through the Amazon IP Accelerator program. And there's a lot of benefits to that. So you're gonna get access to a service called Brand Registry, and that will allow you to upload videos. You can have an A+ module content instead of your product description. And this just helps you sell a little bit more and increase your conversion rate. It's not necessary at all, but if you have the funds, I strongly recommend that. The next cost down here is recommended. So this is product photography and videography. Personally, I believe this should be a required field. However, you can do it yourself for $0 and then eventually start to hire people to do it for you. But I've spent up in the past to $1,500 to get really good images done, and I strongly recommend this. Your images can make or break your listing. It's gonna be why people click into your listing and eventually buy. So if you have the funds, I strongly recommend hiring someone to take photos, and then if you sign up for Brand Registry, have them take a video of your product as well. Okay, now our fourth recommended cost here is a PPC budget. So this can range from $300 to $900. And the math I did there was assuming you're spending either $10 a day or $30 a day for an entire month. And this is really helpful when you're first starting out. You have to think about it. Your product is gonna have 0 reviews. And the only way to get it in front of customers is probably through advertising. So I like to set that up as a budget before I launch. That way I can assume that I'm probably gonna lose a little bit of that because it might not be profitable. So adding that as your recommended budget here and keeping that in mind when you launch is really helpful. And then I added a Jungle Scout membership here because I think it's vital to launching a business. You can start with the $29 plan or use the professional $84 plan. This is charged monthly, but it's gonna help you launch your product like we've seen so far in this video, but it's also gonna help you manage your business. So you can actually manage your inventory, look at your sales, optimize your listing, and use keyword research for that. So I definitely recommend adding it in if you have the funds to do that. So now let's go to the last bucket here, which I've called extra. And this is just general design work that can range in a cost from $100 to $700. Now this could be things like logos, packaging, product inserts, touch-ups on your photography. It could be anything that you can think of, but general design work is not needed at all. But if you know somebody on Fiverr, 99 Designs, or anyone else that can just touch up certain aspects of your business, then this could be a cost that is highly worth it, but you don't need it at all. But again, the only costs you absolutely need are these ones highlighted in red here. And really, it's primarily your inventory cost eating up the majority of your budget. But also, if you need a little bit of help funding your startup, there are a bunch of options available. We actually have a full guide that breaks down all the different funding options and how to get approved. So make sure to check out that article with the link in the pinned comment down below. Now trust me, I've been there. An upfront investment of any amount can feel like a huge risk. But as long as you thoroughly researched your product idea, in the long run, it's all going to pay off. However, if you need a little more help finding that winning product, we have an entire product research playlist that will teach you everything you could possibly need to know. So make sure to check out this next playlist. And if you stuck around this far, I want to say thank you so much for watching today's video, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.